Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fashion Bunker. Since Halloween is upon us, this is, by the way, for those of you who don't know, the pumpkin symbol of Halloween too. Michael Myers is in the house. So to celebrate the arrival of Halloween, I will be making a review, or first impressions actually, because I never smelt it, even though I've received this a while ago. It is a sample of Zoologist's bat, Eau De Parfum. Thank you to T. T sent this to me like almost a year ago, basically. But you see, all things come to a good end in the end. And I will finally get to making this. That I wanted to do this for such a long time, but couldn't. And now we're going to do it. So this is a spray, 2.5 ml, already great. Usually all the brands do only 1.5 ml. And look at that, it's made in Canada. The bat is made in Canada. The gold is really hard to film. So this is the warning, blah, blah, blah. Okay, let me take out the bottle and let's read the text. Zoologist's bat Eau De Parfum escorts you on an odyssey through the night. This unique olfactory experience carries you with the fruit bat to a sumptuous feast in a lush tropical jungle before whisking you down to the recesses of its cavernous home. Sweet figs and soft fruits ensnare you with addictive notes, then beckon you deep with primordial mineral scents that evoke a rugged enclosure redolent with hints of damp soil and vegetal roots. Allow yourself to hang, draped in pitch black, as alluring musk wafts over you with every unfolding of the thousands of leathery wings that surround you. Here we're going to read the notes. Bat Eau De Parfum does not use animal products. Important to state as well. We're going to read the notes as I spray this on. Let me first spray on bat. It's a very, very ambery texture. So I am aware from the description, quite well aware of the fact that we're not talking about a vampire bat here. We're talking about the fruit bats, which are actually quite big bats, and they love to eat fruits, and they're actually super cute to see. They're a bit scary if you're not used to them, but they're adorable animals. But since the bat depicted here is dressed almost as if it were Count Dracula in some sort of way, I would say they're playing a double game here. This is not just our fruit-eating bat, but there's a pun in this portrayal of the bat, as it could be, maybe, perhaps, a vampire. So let's spray it on and see what the bat brings. Okay, let's just say it's very orange on the skin. Wow, okay, ooh, it's intense. Oh, okay, so quite chemical in the opening. Top notes are banana, soft fruits, damp earth. Yeah, I sense the damp earth. I definitely sense it, and it literally goes into my throat and dries it out. Heart notes are fig, tropical fruits, mineral notes, myrrh, resins, and vegetal roots. Base notes, furry musks, leather, vetiver, sandalwood, and tonka. Okay, I sense out so powerfully the earth, if you may. Let's open this properly so you can see it. I sense out the earth, the earthy tones. They are really intense here, but also very chemical. Whew, it's intense. It's a little bit reminiscent in the opening notes. It's reminiscent to the Twin Peaks, the Red Room from the Twin Peaks box of the House of Matriarch. yeah, the Red Room fragrance, it's supposed to resemble engine oil, and it's more, in fact, it is more oily and engine-y. This is more dirty than that, but they have a similar component. There's a similar chemical in there that's quite dangerous, smells dangerous to me. When the House of Matriarch, Twin Peaks, Red Room, it has an oily, burnt engine oil touch to it. This one has literally soil, but the soil is damp and very, very dark and black. But, okay, it's evaporating. So slowly I'm feeling fig kicking in. A hint of fig is kicking in, definitely. Resins as well. I would say, yes, we have some resins there. It's resinous, for sure, resinous. But very, very like gasoline in the opening notes. To me, I do not get the banana. I do not get the soft fruits from the top notes. From the heart notes, the fig is there. Myrrh is there, but again, it's a myrrh that to me is a bit too chemical. It's a synthetic myrrh. Maybe it's not synthetic, but then it clashes or collides with the furry musks. Musk can go either way. I think the leather in the base notes is what helps create the effect of damp earth. The leather blended in a special way together with the vetiver. If the vetiver is a very wet vetiver, let's mention the wettest of vetivers, the sycamore vetiver. Now, that's a vetiver that feels like it's wet and it just... Eau de toilette, not the Eau de Parfum. The Eau de Parfum has nothing to do with the Eau de toilette. The Eau de Parfum being yucky. But you could check out me talking about it in 1,000 other videos, so I'm not going to repeat myself here. But the wet vetiver is only in the Eau de toilette. And this vetiver in bat is not wet. It's more dry, but also I would say almost like it gives me a holiday vibe. I don't want to say Christmas, but it's like seasons. It's like some sort of season's greetings type of vibe. It's not a very welcoming smell. But then again, what does a bat stand for? Most of culture of the first world part of the globe fears bats. You know, in other cultures, bats are not feared. But so if you see a bat, usually your first reaction is, if you have hair, is to grab your hair, because there's these, you know, the myth. I don't know how real and how true it really is, but when I was a kid, and you know, in the mountains or whatever, and right as the sun would go down, the bats would come out and they would fly and they would hunt all the little bugs flying in the air, mostly mosquitoes actually. So they actually help us battle parasites. Everybody would say like, okay, hold your hair, because if a bat lands in your hair, it can never leave again because it gets all tangled into the hair, and then that's a mess, and then you got to cut your hair off. So I was terrified as a kid that a bat would get stuck in my head and would not leave. So this is what, thank you parents for telling me this story. It's probably, I don't even know if it's true or not, it doesn't even matter, but it's a ridiculous way of portraying an animal. It makes you feel like sad now that I'm thinking, oh gosh. Didn't like bats first for that reason, and then afterwards discovering movies and vampires and Dracula and all that stuff. So, but I've come to really love bats as animals after you learn about them, and after you learn about their life and how they live, and how delicate they are, but how resistant at the same time, how they can freeze and then defrost and then come back to life after they frost. I mean, they're amazing creatures, really amazing creatures. And one of the only mammal, if not the only mammal that can fly. I mean, there are some other mammals that can kind of jump and glide through the air, but I'm not so sure that there's other mammals that can fly like bats can fly. So you got to give these little fellas credit. But nevertheless, most of our, thanks to pop culture and also through literature, most of our vision of a bat is of not being welcoming. You want to run away from it if you see it. So I guess in that respect, this fragrance does deliver. Whether or not they consciously wanted to deliver a more unfriendly, kind of unwelcoming type of bat smell, this I do not know. Probably they didn't, because they do go for the nice fruit-eating bats, given that they're talking about fig, tropical fruits, resins, vegetal roots, banana, you know, soft fruits. It's fruits, and damp air. So it's a mix. And I have the feeling, maybe because it's an Eau De Parfum, maybe it should have been an Eau De Toilette, just to give it more softness and let those fruits shine more, as opposed to the damp earth, leather, vetiver, sandalwood, tonka, musks, maybe. But then again, I don't know. The sample might be, you know, because it is over a year old at least, or maybe 2 years old. I mean, the fragrance was released in 2015. We're in 2019 now. So if this batch is literally 4 years old, it might be old, because I see the photo here. The liquid is green on the photo, and here the liquid is ambery. So, you know, this one might have gone a bit stale, but that also shows you it was kept out of light, you know. So it's not like in 4 years' time something can go so sour. Maybe it can. I don't know. But then again, usually when that happens, the top notes are usually busted, but the rest is really good. So I'm going to give it a bit of time and let it sink in and see how the dry down will be. But if you're going to, I don't know, you know, if you're, maybe this just speaks to the fact that there are, together with some of the synthetic components, also natural components, because those tend to change really quickly, color. And usually whatever is green does tend to turn ambery. Green usually doesn't stay green for long, except for Chanel number 19. That thing stays green even 40 years later. It just, it always stays, it turns a bit gold, like ambery green, but it stays green. Oh, and I have a bottle here of Pour Monsieur. This one also always stays green, no matter how old the bottle is. It can turn a little bit more like beigey green, but there's still that green there. Anyway. Oh, I also have here. That's the green we're talking about. This is a factice bottle. So this liquid was made in the 80s, 70s, 80s. So it never changed color. So it's really fascinating for me to collect the factice bottles, because they mostly preserve the liquid color the way it was intended to be. So that's always good as a reference point to have factice bottles with the factice liquid, because most of the time that liquid does not change color. So you could use it as a reference if you're hunting down vintage perfumes and see how much the liquid of the vintage actually differs from the factice bottle. So that's another little hint for you guys. Help you out to hunt down vintage perfumes. Bat is a very young fragrance. 2015, if I correct. Yeah, 2015. And also the nose behind it is Ellen Covey. I hope I pronounced the name properly. So let's see how a vintage bottle of Bat will look like in 20 years' time. It's becoming quite interesting, and there's a powdery note in here. I guess the musk, no, I think it's the myrrh. I think it's the myrrh giving out a softer, almost like a flocked feeling. And maybe if I think about a bat, I also envision it to be flocked. A toy bat, at least. You know, flocked means it's like furry. It has that flocking to cover its surface. And the more time passes with this fragrance on my skin, the more I get that flocked illusion, which is very comforting, I have to say. But the kind of slight gasoline-y touch is not leaving the fragrance. Not at all. It's still there. And I have the feeling it's been blended slightly aggressively. Maybe it should have been more rounded at the edges. Maybe just tame it a little bit, you know, rein it in a little bit and give an opportunity, because the concept is beautiful and I understand perfectly well how the concept is. But again, sometimes things sound much better on paper than they are when they're executed. And in terms of execution here, maybe toning down some of the, you want to call them, I don't know if they're essential oils in this case, but toning down some of the more strong ingredients in favor of letting the more delicate ingredients shine would have made this perfume benefit. It would, let's say, the perfume would have benefited from it. Because I was really looking forward to the banana. I was looking forward to the soft fruits, the tropical, the fig, the tropical fruits, you know, the vegetal roots. I was looking forward to all that, but none of that is really here except for the damp earth, a very synthetic gasoline note, and leather, and it's not even leather like in the leathery note that we're used to in fragrances, but more like kind of a leather vetiver blend. So that's what comes out here the most. It is marketed as a unisex fragrance, so to whatever gender, or if you don't want to identify with any gender, to non-gender, just living creature that has the capacity to spray it, to know how to, has the mechanics in their body to spray this, and who can appreciate scents. It's targeted to those beings. But perhaps now, listen, if this sample is, I don't know if these have batch codes that I could check. Probably not. I don't see a batch code here, but if this sample is from 2015 and in 4 years' time it has changed so much, then I would say if you do get a bottle and it's this green when it's new, the liquid, then you gotta use it. You can't just stock up on bat. You gotta use it up soon, because if the sample changed so much in such a short period of time, then I believe that it's a delicate balance of a composition of every single ingredient being very delicate within the actual fragrance. So you would have to commit to a perfume. 100 ml is a lot to commit to, and probably they make smaller bottles as well, but a full bottle is a lot to commit to, and you don't want it to switch so soon. And I'm just saying this in case this is the case with what happened to my sample, but it smells also very resinous-y and oily and essential oily, woodsy, with gasoline always. So I do believe, and in fact, as I'm looking at my skin, it hasn't absorbed it fully. Like there's this oil type of consistency on my skin, and if I touch that area, yeah, and then it smells on my other finger. So it's very oily, which brings me to a point. I would say this would need several hours for it to really touch a dry down. So that's why I'm going to come back to you in a couple of hours' time and let you know how it developed. 3 hours have passed, and bat is batting its way through my skin still. It's more powdery, but I have to say, like, this is the thing, I don't like, I don't want to give it a, you know, it's hard to kind of, when something isn't that good and it's just, you just don't want to say it because then it's rather just keep it to yourself. But this is just not that good. It's blended, it's like a soup with too many ingredients, and the ingredients haven't been blended properly, and they kind of, it's a mashup of everything, and it doesn't flow one into the other. You know, there's no, like, you know what I mean? It doesn't, one ingredient allowing, to me, a good composition, recipe, a good fragrance composition. It's like a composition, it's like music, you know, when you play 50 instruments all at once and all of them make some noise, it's a mess. But if you harmonize between them, then the magic happens. And here it all went a little bit squished together, and it fights itself. The perfume ended up definitely battling against itself, and it doesn't allow any one of these ingredients to shine really, because they all, like lava, they all just kind of burn everything together. Smelling it again. Yeah, it's definitely not something that I wish to wear. So, you know, and again, I prefer to smell, you know, smells, scents, fragrances, odors that I like. And I love to talk about things I love. So it's kind of hard to blindly try something out, and then you end up not liking it, and then you're thinking, well, what's the purpose of even making a video? But then I suppose, you know, I tend to, things I really don't like, I tend to not talk about them because you don't need the negativity. But this is a review of a fragrance, and it's not about negativity. It's just, I guess, yeah, I guess sooner or later a review had to be done where the outcome isn't as positive, you know, as expected, because I do love the packaging, I love the concept, the Zoologist, the whole thing behind it, you know, and the aesthetic of it, but it's just smell-wise, we're not there yet. That's that, you guys. Shoot the messenger. I mean, I'm not a messenger in this case. I'm not delivering somebody else's news. This is my opinion. It's just my nose. So obviously, this doesn't mean anything really. Everybody has their own nose. Everybody has their own sensitivity and sensibility and their own way of perceiving fragrances and how they develop on their skin. So it's up to you, you know, to make that opinion on your own and for yourself. And let me know if you out there are loving this one and why. Because there's an interpretation to things, and if you do offer a stimulating enough interpretation, maybe it's going to unlock some other pattern inside my olfactive way of perceiving these ingredients, you know, so that I could get to experience it from another perspective or point of view. So that would be highly appreciated if you were to comment in the comment section down below. But for now, I can say also, after 3 hours, it's still there, but quite mellowed down. So I don't expect this one to have this huge longevity beyond maybe 6 or 7 hours. And projection, in the beginning, it's a projection beast. Quite tame now. It's quite close to the skin. Very close to the skin, actually. It doesn't project much at all. And this is a thing that I do with fragrances, especially in the dry fragrances that I love. This is what I do in the dry down. It's a trick. And probably most of you already know this, but there's this crazy way, when you have the feeling the perfume is almost dead on your skin, like there's nothing left, then you go really close to the skin with your nose. I'm not going to do it now. There's no space here between the camera and the background, but you go really close with your nose to the spot where you sprayed it, and then you blow onto that spot. You heat it up with through your nose. You heat it up. You blow that hot air from within you, and then when you've heated it up, you inhale. You smell it, and you're gonna get. It's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing because you're gonna receive these. You're gonna pop up those last anchored golden molecules of the fragrance anchored to your skin, and they're gonna just come into your nose, and it's going to be, as they say in French, the little death, the petit mort, or whatever you call it, of the fragrance. That to me, you know, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say that word in English here. It begins with an O and it ends with an M. The O-M of the perfume. After the dry down, do that. Warm up that spot and inhale immediately. The warmed up, like blow on, like, so now I'm blowing onto and inhaling immediately. Ugh. And that's the mind-blowing thing. And that's the little O ... M of the perfume. So when a fragrance, after that dry down has been hit, delivers that last small death punch, when you warm it up and inhale it, and you love that smell, that means it's a winner. This one doesn't deliver that. So there you have it, guys. Plain and simple. What more can I say? Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this review despite the not so positive outcome. Subscribe to my channel if you wish here on YouTube. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Super Dacob all spelled together. I'm also on Patreon. Don't forget to also check out the series that I initiated on YouTube called Ask Dacob, where you get to call in live, we record that, and then we stream it later on YouTube. You can write me your questions and thoughts and opinions and ideas to askdacob@gmail.com. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, don't ever forget to never give up on love. Love you all. See you soon. Take care. Bye.